What is up, YouTube? My name's Alex. Welcome back to the Lifting Nomad. Today's video, unfortunately, is going to be not about such a positive topic that I always like to talk about, but it is the reality of traveling full-time. Over the last 2 years, I've been to like 18 countries, really just been moving around non-stop. So in this video, I want to talk about what it's like to get sick while you're traveling. Unfortunately, I've been living in Croatia for all of September, and I ended up getting pretty badly sick for about half of the time I was here, and it really impeded my ability to enjoy this beautiful country and enjoy my time in Split. So I want to talk about my experience, like how I tackle this kind of thing, what I do to like try and get out of the groove, try and get healthy again, because it does affect my life in a lot of ways. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so I'm gonna talk about two specific things that have happened to me over the last year that have definitely impeded my ability to enjoy my travels to the fullest extent. We're gonna have a little espresso double shot here that I got from the Tommy's supermarket. That ain't half bad. So two things that have happened to me, and I'll talk about this scenario. So I went on a cruise on Virgin Voyages over Christmas last year, December of 2022. I ended up chipping my tooth on that cruise, and I also got COVID while I was on that cruise. But that wasn't really the worst part because I didn't really have any symptoms until I got off of the ship, and I didn't even realize I had it when I was on board. The challenge was once I got off of the ship in Miami, my dad was flying back home to Toronto, and I was flying onward to go south to Buenos Aires, Argentina for a 5-month trip. So this was like the start of our trip. We spent Christmas together. I chipped my tooth. I had COVID. I felt like shit. Then I had to fly like 10,000 kilometers further south. Landed in Bogota, did a layover in Bogota, Colombia, and then flew from Bogota to Buenos Aires. And then I was in BA for like 2.5 months before going to Mexico City and then Medellin after that. And it was, kind of a shock to the system to land in my first time being in Argentina. My Spanish at that time was not that great. I didn't know the neighborhood. I didn't know anyone there at the time. It was a completely new experience for me. And it's kind of challenging to remain positive and not be like, fuck, I just want to cancel my whole trip and go home. Like, what if this is like a more serious illness? Or what if like I can't find a dentist who can speak English and I'm not able to get my tooth repaired and I'm so far away from home and I'm lonely and I don't have family there and I don't have friends there and I don't speak the language. And it can take a lot out of you when you're in those moments. And now like looking back on it, 9 months, 10 months later, it's a lot easier for me to think like, it wasn't as bad as it seems, I guess. But in that time when you're feeling so down and you're just like staying in your apartment all day long, you're not going out, you're not like meeting people, you're not even going to restaurants. Like literally for a week, I pretty much just got delivery to my Airbnb, stayed there, watched like 8 different shows. I binged like Snowpiercer and like all the seasons, just like random shit I could find on Netflix because I just felt like so beat down. So what I try and do in those scenarios is like, first of all, obviously evaluate the seriousness of the illness. So that one actually I don't think was that bad. I've had COVID like 4 or 5 times at this point. I kind of know what the symptoms feel like and I know what to expect. Like I'm tired and I have a cough and I feel like stuffy and I just overall like I lose that kind of edge that I normally have. And I think like my mental capacity is probably my strongest asset. So when I feel like an idiot basically and I'm just like not functioning properly and I'm like bumping into the walls and like I'm spilling shit, I know that my body is just not operating at that level that I'm used to. So I'm like, all right, maybe something's wrong, probably COVID. So what do you do? Like I said, first of all, obviously evaluate the seriousness of whatever you're having. If it is something that is like fucking broken leg or you're like puking blood or something like very, very bad, obviously just go to an emergency room. Assuming you have some kind of like healthcare for travel insurance, I always recommend buying that. It ended up saving me like $2,500 when I had COVID the year before that when I was coming home from Colombia. And just like, taking the proper precautions and just going to get yourself treated. At the end of the day, like you need to make sure you're surviving before anything else. So if it is a very, very serious case, in most countries in a developed major city, they're going to have some English-speaking doctors. It's just a matter of fact. Doctors globally are one of the highest demand jobs in human existence. So these people who do tend to have those jobs can really go wherever they want. So you have, people traveling from all over the world to work in some of these places. maybe coming from an English speaking country, or maybe taking medical school in an English school if they're from there. So for the most part, you're going to be able to find an English speaking doctor or dentist. So what I did was just get like a quick COVID test to confirm that yes, I did have COVID. And then I basically just took like a week to recuperate, spend some time. Like I went outside, and that's, I think, like a really important thing is still to get outside and get fresh air, and don't just let your entire apartment go to shambles with like garbage overflowing. Like try and get back to somewhat of a normal. I'm not saying like go to nightclubs and go to restaurants and go to the gym, but at least like go for a walk outside. Go sit in a park. Go down to the ocean and put your feet in the sand or something like that. That's gonna kind of ground you to the fact that you're still alive, you're still a human being, and there is going to be better. You know, you are going to feel better eventually. That, I think, is really important to keep your mental focus. Then I guess the second piece with that is also to consider the length of your trip. If you are on like a 1-week vacation and day one you have COVID, or day one you have like some serious illness, there's a good chance it could impact your entire trip. So that's just something like setting proper expectations of where you're going, and, you know, really just being realistic with yourself. So now, like, taking that into consideration, I knew I was on the beginning of a 5-month trip. So I didn't need to rush this and like try and get the most out of my time there while I was still sick and like risk it a little bit more. I knew that if I took the week and actually properly rested, properly like drank water and had good food and spent some time in the sun and just like took it easier, that after that I'd be back to normal and I'd be able to live like somewhat of a normal life for the rest of my trip. So got rid of the COVID, and then it was like, okay, time to deal with the dentist thing. And this is kind of where just like Googling and asking like ideally like nomad meetups or something where you can say, even just like Google reviews of English speaking dentists. I was able to find someone pretty quickly. It ended up costing me like $18 to get my tooth fixed. So, you know, fast forward that experience being in Argentina, landed the COVID in a chipped tooth, first time in a foreign speaking country, never knew what to do in that city. Fast forward a week and a half and I was like back to normal. I was going out, I was going to the gym. I was like, my tooth was fixed. I was like completely healthy again. So it's just kind of, you know, the risk that comes with traveling. Like I've been traveling full time for 2 years now. People are going to get sick throughout the year, no matter what. You're going to have shit happen to you. So just being aware that could happen the days you're on a trip. So fast forward to now where I'm in Croatia. Unfortunately, I was only here for about 30 days. This is coming to the end of my trip at this point. And about a week and a half in, I got some kind of like bacterial infection that started in my mouth and then like spread it up into my nose, and it was like pretty gnarly. I was getting nosebleeds like all the time, and it was very unpleasant to deal with. Like I couldn't really breathe through my nose. I couldn't sleep properly. It ended up being like kind of a like swollen tonsils and shit as well, so I couldn't eat or I couldn't chew properly. My gums were sore. So pretty much just like eating soup and ramen noodles for a week and a half. And that sucked because my trip here, my time was only like 4 weeks, and almost half of it I spent basically just out of commission. So with that, I kind of self-assessed a little bit. Like the first day I was like, maybe it's just like my dry skin. So I went and bought like a humidifier. I got some like some lip chap, and I thought maybe it was my toothpaste. That's why my gums were sore. So I got like some sensitive toothpaste. And after about a day or 2 days of that, it wasn't really improving at all. And for me, like I'm pretty aware of my body and like how, you know, I've had cracked lips before. I've had swollen like gums before from like reacting to some kind of foreign toothpaste. So 2 days in, I wasn't getting any better, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's something worse going on here. So then what I do is go to like Google and search like tourist medical care in Croatia or tourist medical clinics. Ended up finding one, and I went there and it was closed on that day, but I didn't want to wait any more time. So then I realized there was a hospital pretty much directly across the street, and usually like you can just go to like the emergency rooms in these hospitals and like at least get some information about where you can go to see a doctor if you have to wait in line or however that works. I think I got pretty lucky here in Split being in September, like the shoulder season. I walked right in and I thought I was in the wrong building because there was absolutely no one in the ER except like 4 doctors. So it was kind of an interesting experience. They were all very young as well. I would say like younger than 35. They all spoke very good English. And immediately, like before I met with this one doctor, and before she even like sat me down, she's like, okay, like what brings you in here today? I'm like, I don't know, my mouth is all fucked up. I got this thing in my nose. And she's like, okay, that probably sounds like a bacterial infection. Like, let's just go sit down and I'll take a look. She looks in my mouth and she's like, yeah, 100%. So she said it could have been from something like my retainer or drinking like bad water or like just, you know, shit happens, I guess. But it probably would have gone away on its own. It would have just taken a long time to do so. So ended up getting treated with this like super powerful mouthwash that like, I guess the idea was to kill it inside my mouth. And then I had this other cream outside. Don't need to get into that specifics of it, but essentially, like, I evaluated, okay, I wasn't getting better on my own. Let's go to a doctor and figure out what's going on. It took like a full week of running that medication before my face cleared up and I was back to being normal. And it just kind of sucks, really. You know, like at the end of the day, you're really losing a lot of time on your vacation because you're just like stuck at home, or you're stuck in your Airbnb, you're stuck in your hotel, you feel like shit, you're not able to go out, you're not able to eat. And if you do, like for me, I'm someone who cares a lot about my appearance, and during this time, I was just an uggo. So I didn't want to go out because I think my experience would have been impacted by the fact I wasn't like my traditionally handsome self. So that's just like something I've had to deal with. It's unfortunate when it lines up during your trips that you miss out on some time, but the reality of traveling, and especially traveling full-time, is that you are going to have complications and issues are going to arise. So I always try and take it with like in stride. There's no ideal scenario for getting sick or having something go wrong, but if you have a positive attitude and you're thinking, hey, you know what? I'm still alive. I know I'll get back to normal at some point. This is just like another bump in the road. Then I think you'll be fine moving forward. And that would be my advice, is just kind of like set your expectations at the beginning. Take care of yourself. Definitely don't be afraid to go to the hospitals. If you have healthcare insurance or travel insurance, should be fine. I'm in Croatia. It ended up being like free. I got prescribed, the ER stay was completely free. It took like 10 minutes total. Then she prescribed me 2 types of medication. I went across the street to a pharmacy, paid €7 for the medication. So for €7, I got treated and then got my treatment medication as well. So super, super simple. So that's my advice. I think like take care of yourself, priority number one. Like obviously if you have something wrong, go to a hospital. There's no shame in it. They're going to likely be able to treat you whatever's wrong, and just be, you know, prepared that shit can go wrong. Like there's no perfect vacation. And if you try and make that up in your mind, you're just going to disappoint yourself because things are going to go wrong. So just account for that and try and make the most of it. That's generally, you know, my experience of traveling while sick. Unfortunately, that's why I haven't been able to really make too much content lately for my YouTube channel, is because I've just been like completely out of commission. So hopefully now that I'm back to normal, I do have a couple months left at home before I go to Argentina. So that's the point when I'll be hopefully resetting and getting back into a consistent routine of creating content more often. That's pretty much going to be the video, just my experience of 2 very interesting cases of getting sick while traveling, and like how I handled it and my approach to it overall. I think just the main takeaway is just, you know, set your expectations properly, try to make the best of a bad situation, and if shit does go wrong, you know, it is what it is. Try and stay like a little bit positive about things that can change in the future, and that would be my advice for you. So if this was useful, maybe it was entertaining, I don't know, hopefully it was kind of cool to hear my experience and how I handle it. But as always, thank you very much for watching this video. My name is Alex. Welcome back to Lifting Nomad. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.